It is July 12th, 2024. 115 days remain until the polls close on Election Day. 38 days until the gavel drops and the Democratic National Convention convenes in Chicago. This weekend is the preliminary to the convening of the Republican National Convention, where Donald John Trump will receive the nomination for the third consecutive election cycle, joining one of very few Americans who have ever achieved that feat. This is the warning. 2 weeks have passed since the cataclysmic debate in Atlanta between President Biden and Donald Trump. The polling is continuing to come in, and all of it shows Donald Trump is ahead and in the strongest position he has ever been on a July 12th since he came down the escalator in Trump Tower. Donald Trump is on track to win. During his news conference facing the White House press corps and the international media for the first time in a long time, President Biden was confronted with his poll numbers. In part, this is what he responded with.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that.
In the immediate aftermath, President Obama's chief strategist, David Axelrod, said this, making clear he believes the White House staff is not sharing with the president his perilous political condition. Let me be perfectly clear about something. In a battle of narcissism between narcissists, Joe Biden doesn't stand a chance against Donald Trump, who is the real, undiluted, pure specimen of malignant narcissism. A perfect, crystalline example of it. This is not a space President Biden can compete in. In the end, this day, 115 days away from the election, offers us a snapshot in time. We know, as of today, President Biden does not have a path to an electoral college victory that is credible. His polling numbers, while they have not been decimated on the ballot test, meaning the head-to-head, Joe Biden's at 42, Donald Trump is at 43, but inside those numbers, the approval levels, the confidence numbers, who's stronger on the economy, who is mentally fit to serve another 4 years, the president's numbers and the ground he was standing on have been liquefied. He has sunk into a quicksand, and there is no rope. What you are seeing inside the Democratic Party is silent screaming. You can hear it from behind the walls of the caucus meetings. It's spilling out a bit, but not fully yet. But there is something to consider. If President Biden's position holds, it will require a great many Democrats, starting with their leaders, to go along with it. Go along and get along. And let's imagine that the race ends precisely like I'm predicting it will. What does Chuck Schumer think happens to him? What does Nancy Pelosi think happens to her standing? The repudiation at hand will not simply be Biden's, but the entirety of a party that allowed this to transpire, that allowed it to happen. The party will be obliterated. Who will be the first person to step forward and start screaming on MSNBC about the spoiler who claims that they're going to run an independent candidacy 4 years from now, which absolutely will happen, which must happen if the Democratic Party loses this race to Donald Trump, a man who is running on a platform of retribution and insanity. And now the whole country stands ready to receive the retribution and the punishment. That's on offer from the Democratic Party in this moment. It will be devastating if what seems obvious to so many comes to pass in 115 days. The president's position on this is that so long as he does his goodest, everything is okay, and he's not worrying about his legacy. But he should, because if Donald Trump wins, his legacy is one thing: selfishness that put his ego before his country. Recollections of his presidency will be one thing. There will be no memory of the infrastructure achievements, the CHIPS Act. It will all be gone. In fact, an entire lifetime of service will be reduced to a thimble of ash contained in a vial with just enough space to write the 4-word legacy of the president's lifetime of service. There will be a T, an R, a U, an M, and a P, because that is all there will be. The Biden campaign is falling apart. Anybody who says it's not is a fool. And the evidence to show that is so is the fact that for 2 weeks, Donald Trump has disengaged completely from the campaign. It means he's winning. Donald Trump was losing in 2016 all the way through until at the very end, James Comey, through a disgraceful act of narcissistic self-indulgence, he gave the election to Donald Trump by making it inappropriately and outrageously about Secretary Clinton on a concocted fairy tale issue, inflamed by the national media for years and years and years. And it was enough to give Trump a narrow win. There was one thing the incumbent president could do to make the race about him over anything that Donald Trump did, is doing, or will do. And he did it. And in the real world, just like there are consequences from diving off of the Golden Gate Bridge, there's a consequence from the cataclysm of the performance from that debate. And so the president can say at a news conference, I'm staying in, but it doesn't really matter, because the price of staying in means the candidate at the top has to spend all of his time treading water to stay afloat at the expense of fighting Trump, which is necessary to win. It's quite a conundrum. One thing is certainly true. A lot of Democrats are bullshitting a lot of reporters today. They're outraged. They say they had no idea about the president's wherewithal for another battle. Nonsense. This could be seen coming for a long, long ways off. And unfortunately, Democrats did what people are inclined to do. They procrastinated and they looked away, and the fire got closer and closer and closer. And here it is. There are 115 days left. On Monday, there will be 112. There are 38 days left until the Democratic National Convention. On Monday, only 35. Joe Biden will have to hold this current line for 35 more brutal days. And next week, I think Democrats underestimate the wave of ugliness and vitriol and humiliation and degradation and mockery that is coming to presidents. And they at best figure out how to respond to it with a strategy that doesn't mimic Sean Spicer and Kellyanne Conway's gaslighting. This moment, 115 days out, is one of checkmate and loss, and it didn't have to be. But don't let anybody tell you they couldn't see it coming, because it was obvious. And here at The Warning, we've been honest about it for a very long time. Not because I don't respect Joe Biden, Quite the contrary. I respect him a great deal, but I also respect you. And here at The Warning, respect means telling the truth, and it includes telling truth to power. And somebody in that Biden White House needs to sit down with the President of the United States in an urgent manner and go through the polling with him. Stop lying to the President. It's unseemly, to say the least. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.